All right, so ready to dive into John Maxwell and like really unpack his whole thing on leadership. We're not just talking theory here.
Right.
We've brought like some awesome material from his books. We've got talks, the whole deal.
Him, yeah.
So we're going deep on what makes a leader tick
Absolutely.
and how you can actually use this stuff wherever you are.
And I think what's so fascinating about Maxwell is he just cuts to the chase.
Okay.
He says straight up, leadership equals influence.
Hmm.
And it's not about, having the corner office or some fancy title. It's about inspiring people to move in the same direction.
It's funny how we attach leadership to the role, right?
Right.
But influence, you can have that anywhere.
Anywhere. Absolutely.
Like you think about that coworker who everyone's drawn to.
Oh, totally.
Might not be the boss, but they've got that thing
They have that it's factor.
that makes you want to follow them.
Exactly. And that's where his leadership ladder comes in.
Okay.
He outlines these 5 distinct levels, starting with position. And this is the very basic.
Like I'm the boss.
I'm in charge because I have the title.
Right.
People follow because they have to, not because they want to.
Okay, so if that's the bottom rung,
Yeah.
what's next? How do we step up from just having the title?
So the next rung up is permission.
Okay.
And this is where it starts to get interesting, right?
Okay.
It's built on relationships, trust, genuine connection.
Yeah.
People follow because they want to.
So it's the difference between the manager who's like, do this versus the one who inspires you.
Exactly.
You want to work for them.
You want to go the extra mile for that person.
Yeah, totally.
Now, the next level is production.
Okay.
This is where your leadership is actually demonstrated through, results.
Okay.
People can see what you've accomplished together as a team.
It's got to be more than just hitting targets though, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's where levels 4 and 5 come in. Level 4 is people development. And this is where you shift from achieving goals to actually developing the people around you.
Okay.
You're investing in their growth, their potential.
So you're leading for tomorrow, not just for today's deadline.
Exactly.
I like it.
And then that brings us to the top rung, which is personhood.
Okay.
And this is that rare air where people follow you based on who you are, your character, your values.
It's like the Nelson Mandela.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People who inspire deep respect and loyalty.
Okay, these are powerful concepts.
Yeah.
But how do you actually climb this ladder? Like, is it just a matter of reading every leadership book, going to every conference?
That's a great question. And Maxwell would say those things are helpful.
Sure.
But they're only a small piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
He's a big believer in the 70-20-10 rule.
All right. Refresh my memory on that one.
Okay, so 70% of what you learn about leadership comes from real-life experience.
Oh, interesting.
The wins, the losses, the mistakes.
So you're saying I'm 70% of the way there just by living life?
Exactly. 20% comes from observing and learning from others.
Okay.
And only 10% comes from that formal learning.
So the books, the courses.
Exactly. So
Interesting.
it really is about learning by doing, even if it means making some mistakes along the way.
So how do I make the most of that experience?
Right. It's about being intentional, reflecting on those experiences, both good and bad,
Okay.
and taking away valuable lessons.
So it's not just enough to have gone through it.
Right.
You've got to really unpack it.
Exactly.
Okay.
What did I learn? What could I have done better?
I like it.
What am I going to do differently next time?
Yeah. Okay. That's good.
That's how you turn experience into wisdom.
Okay. So that's 70% of it.
Right.
You've got the book learning down, hopefully.
Right.
What about that 20%? That observing others, that mentorship piece.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's crucial as well as recognizing those everyday leadership moments.
Okay.
Maybe you helped a coworker solve a problem.
Right.
Maybe you took charge of a project nobody else wanted.
Mhm.
Those are opportunities to flex those leadership muscles no matter what your title is.
So it's about being really present, right? Not just going through the motions, but like actively looking for those learning moments.
Yes, and that brings us to another one of Maxwell's big ideas, which is self-discipline.
Okay.
He calls it the bridge between intention and action.
Ooh, I like that.
Because you can have all the leadership knowledge in the world,
Right.
but if you can't get yourself to actually do the work, lead by example.
Right.
Make those tough calls.
It's not enough to just read about it. You got to actually do it.
Exactly.
Okay, so how do we cultivate that? Because self-discipline, that's something I struggle with, for sure.
Yeah, and he emphasizes it's not about some superhuman ability to resist every temptation.
Yeah, okay.
It's about building daily habits that support your goals.
So it's like those little things you do every day that
That's it.
add up over time.
He actually follows a 5-step routine every day to boost his own influence.
5 steps. Okay, break it down for me. What's step 1?
It all starts with genuinely valuing people.
Okay.
And, I mean, genuinely, you can't add value to someone you don't respect.
Right. It's got to be authentic,
Exactly.
not just some like leadership tactic.
And that leads us to step 2, which is actively looking for ways to add value to the people around you.
Okay. So this takes effort.
It does. It takes effort.
You're not just going through your day.
You're paying attention.
You're thinking about the people around you.
How can I make a difference here?
Yeah. How can I make their day better? How can I help them grow?
Exactly. And that takes us to step 3, which is following through and taking action.
Right. Because it's not enough to just think about it.
You got to do it.
You got to actually do it.
And it doesn't stop there. Step 4 is encouraging others to do the same.
Oh, I love that because it's not about creating these lone wolf leaders.
Right. It's about spreading that.
It's like building a culture of adding value.
Exactly.
I like it.
And then Maxwell's final step is all about reviewing your progress. He's a big believer in reflecting on your actions and making adjustments as needed.
So, okay, this is great. But I have a question about this whole like adding value and empowering others.
Yeah.
What if you get left behind?
That's a common fear. And it brings us to one of Maxwell's most counterintuitive pieces of advice,
Okay.
which is work yourself out of a job.
Wait a minute. You want me to make myself obsolete?
In a way, yes.
Mm.
By consistently investing in your team, giving them the skills and confidence to take on more responsibility, you're essentially grooming them to eventually fill your shoes.
Oh, okay. So it's like that saying, the best way to climb the ladder is to help others up first.
Exactly. And here's the thing. When you create a pipeline of capable leaders, it opens up new opportunities for you to rise to the next level.
Oh, interesting.
It's a win-win.
Okay, I like that. It's like you're not threatened by their growth, you're excited by it.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're talking about climbing that leadership ladder.
Right.
There's one part of leadership that I think a lot of people find really daunting, and that's those tough conversations.
Oh, absolutely. Those are never easy.
Whether it's giving critical feedback, addressing performance issues,
Right.
or even letting someone go.
Yeah, those are tough.
Those conversations are tough, and I think a lot of us would rather just, hide under our desks.
Right. Maxwell really emphasizes the importance of setting clear expectations from the get-go as a way to make those conversations less, well, tough.
So it's like, take the surprise element out of it.
Exactly. If you establish from day one that, hey, we're going to celebrate the wins together.
Right.
But there are also going to be times when we need to have these more difficult conversations.
Right. So everyone's on the same page from the beginning.
Exactly. It creates that foundation of transparency.
Yeah, I like it.
Now, to really kind of illustrate this idea of influence over formal authority, let's dive into a story from Maxwell's own leadership journey,
Okay.
the story of Claude.
Okay. Who's Claude?
So this takes us back to Maxwell's early days as a pastor. He was leading a small, rural church, and at the ripe old age of 22.
22. I was barely like a functioning adult at 22.
Right. He found himself chairing board meetings.
Wow.
And he quickly realized that while he had the official title of chairman, he had very little real influence over this group of seasoned farmers who made up the board.
They'd probably seen it all at that point, right?
Right, and that's where Claude enters the picture.
Okay, I'm getting But Claude.
But Claude was this unassuming farmer who held a certain sway over the group.
Oh, okay.
When Claude spoke, people listened.
So what did Maxwell do? Did he try to, challenge Claude for dominance?
Not at all. He did the opposite.
Okay.
He recognized Claude's influence and decided to work with it, not against it.
Interesting.
He built a relationship with Claude, earned his trust, and started subtly influencing the direction of the board through him.
It's like leading through influence, not just authority.
Exactly.
Did it work?
It did. The church went from a handful of attendees to over 300 during Maxwell's time there.
Wow, that's amazing.
And get this, he claims he never once formally presented an item to the board during those years.
Really?
He would simply guide Claude, who would then present the ideas as his own.
Wow, that's amazing. And it seems like Claude was on board with it.
He was. He felt empowered.
That's a really cool story.
It is. It's a great example of how influence can be far more powerful than formal authority.
And you know what? It sounds like everybody won in that situation.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of it. But here's the thing.
Okay.
Maxwell eventually moved on to a different opportunity, right?
Okay.
New pastor takes over the church.
Okay.
And this guy, he was all about asserting his authority.
Oh, no.
Right, like, I'm in charge, we're doing things my way.
Oh, I can already see where this is going.
He basically dismissed Maxwell's whole approach, this whole idea of working through influence.
Didn't end well, did it?
Nope. lasted about 8 months before things fell apart because he
Wow.
was so focused on being the one calling the shots.
Right.
He completely missed the power of relationships.
The power of influence.
Exactly.
It's like that saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right. Exactly. And it brings us back to this idea of multiplying your impact,
Okay.
which is something Maxwell talks about a lot.
Okay.
He believes that true leadership isn't just about what you achieve yourself,
Right.
but about the leaders you develop along the way.
It's building that bench strength.
Exactly. It's about creating more Claudes.
I like it.
And he emphasizes 3 key elements to making this happen.
Okay.
First, you have to model the behavior you want to see.
Right. You can't just talk the talk.
Exactly. You have to walk the walk
Lead by example.
because people are always watching.
They are, even when you don't think they are.
Exactly.
They're picking up on those cues.
And that leads to the second element, which is being intentional about developing others.
Okay.
It takes effort. You have to identify those potential leaders,
See their potential, even if they don't see it themselves.
give them opportunities to grow, offer guidance, support,
Oh.
and then finally, you have to empower them to lead.
Okay, so give them the reins a little bit,
Give them the autonomy to make decisions, to take risks.
even if they might made a mistake or two along the way.
Right, because that's how we learn.
That's how we grow.
It's about creating a culture where people feel trusted and supported to step up.
This has been awesome.
It's been fun.
So many good insights, and you've really brought John Maxwell's ideas to life here.
Glad to hear that.
As we're wrapping up this deep dive into John Maxwell and his approach to leadership, what's one thing we can leave our listener with today? Like, what's that one thing they can take away and actually use?
You know, Maxwell has this great saying, experience is not the best teacher. Evaluating experience is.
Ooh, that's good. Unpack that one a little bit.
It's not enough to just go through the motions, to just have experiences.
Right.
We have to actually reflect on them, learn from our mistakes, and then use those insights to become more effective leaders.
Okay, so to everyone listening, as you're navigating your own leadership journey this week, ask yourself,
Yeah. What's one thing you've learned from your experiences? And how can you apply that lesson to become an even better leader?